The unbelievable Dreadnought. The sun was setting on the human space station as Commander Sarah Carter stood alone on the observation deck, her eyes locked on the massive structure in the distance. It was hard to believe that what she was looking at was real. The human Dreadnought, one of the largest ships ever built, loomed in the distance, an enormous silhouette against the red sky of the planet below. The ship had been years in the making. At first, many in the Human Council had doubted its feasibility. They said it was too big, too heavy, and too complex to ever fly. But Sarah had always believed in the potential of the human spirit. She had led the project from its early stages. And now, after countless failures, budget cuts and delays, the Dreadnought was finally ready to launch. But the real question was, would it fly? The crew, gathered in the control room below, waited in silence as the final preparations were made. The Dreadnought, with its massive engines, towering hull, and rows of weapons, was a symbol of human ambition. And yet, despite its power and potential, no one truly believed it would succeed. Even Sarah had moments of doubt. Was this too much to ask of the human race? Commander Carter, everything is in position, came the voice of her second-in-command, Lieutenant Jack Ryan. He stood next to the console, fingers hovering over the buttons. We're ready for launch. Sarah nodded, her hand tightening around the rail in front of her. She could feel the weight of the moment. This wasn't just a ship launch. It was a statement that humanity could overcome any challenge, no matter how impossible it seemed. The question was, would the rest of the galaxy believe it? All right, Jack, she said, her voice steady but with a hint of tension. Initiate the launch sequence. The room fell into a heavy silence as the countdown began. The giant engines of the Dreadnought powered up, the hum of energy vibrating through the station. The ship trembled slightly, as if it was waking up from a long, deep sleep. Sarah's heart raced as the countdown continued. 10, 9, 8. The numbers counted down, and with each passing second, the tension grew. No way this is gonna work, Jack muttered under his breath. His doubt was shared by many others across the station. They had never seen anything like this before, and some were sure that it would fail. But Sarah didn't share their doubts. She had spent years working with engineers, scientists, and the best minds humanity had to offer. She knew this ship had been built with precision and care. If there was any chance, it was now. 3, 2, 1. The countdown ended, and in that moment, everything seemed to hold its breath. Would it work? Would the ship actually take off? Suddenly, the massive engines roared to life, and the entire station shook. For a moment, Sarah thought the ship was going to collapse under its own weight. But then, slowly, the Dreadnought began to rise. The room erupted in cheers. The ship lifted, its massive body slowly pulling away from the ground, defying all logic and expectations. The fear and doubt that had gripped the crew were replaced by pure amazement. The ship was flying. Against all odds, it was soaring into the sky. For a moment, Sarah stood frozen, her eyes wide in disbelief. She had been a part of every step of this project, but even she hadn't fully expected this moment to come. The Dreadnought, the ship that had been called impossible, was now soaring into the atmosphere. She felt a surge of pride, not just for the crew, but for all of humanity. "We did it," Jack said, his voice filled with awe. But Sarah couldn't take her eyes off the ship. She was still processing what had just happened. The impossible had become reality. It was the first time humanity had truly shown the galaxy that they were capable of creating something truly extraordinary. The Dreadnought wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol of everything humanity had worked for, fought for, and believed in. It was a testament to their will, their strength, and their ability to defy even the most daunting odds. Across the galaxy, the news would spread like wildfire. Aliens who had once mocked humanity's ambitions would now have to face the reality. Humans were no longer a small, insignificant species. They had created a weapon of unimaginable power, a ship so massive that it defied all logic. Sarah watched as the Dreadnought moved higher into the sky, its engines glowing brightly. She knew that this was just the beginning. The launch was a success, but now came the real test. What would the rest of the galaxy think? Would they see this as a sign of strength, or as a challenge to their power? But for now, Sarah allowed herself a brief moment of triumph. Against all odds, the human Dreadnought had flown, and no one would ever doubt humanity again. The alien skepticism. The news of the human Dreadnought's successful flight traveled fast, rippling across the galaxy like a shockwave. It was impossible to ignore. The ship, which had been laughed at, mocked, and thought to be a ridiculous idea, had actually taken to the skies. But while the humans celebrated their triumph, a very different reaction was unfolding in the high chambers of the Galactic Council. Inside the Council's grand chamber, alien leaders from hundreds of planets gathered, their faces filled with concern and disbelief. The Council members were some of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, each one representing an advanced race. They had seen it all: wars, technological advances, and species coming and going. But nothing had prepared them for this. Humans, a species still considered primitive by many, had just done the impossible. General Karoth of the Erethian Empire slammed his fist down onto the table. His broad, muscular frame was tense, his dark eyes burning with frustration. This is absurd. How could they possibly achieve something so complex? Their technology is nowhere near ours. His voice echoed through the chamber, and many of the other council members nodded in agreement. "You're forgetting, Karoth," replied Viri, the sharp-eyed leader of the Aethar species, his voice cool and measured. "Humans have always been unpredictable. We've underestimated them before." Karoth growled under his breath, unwilling to admit that he might be wrong. But he couldn't ignore the facts. The human Dreadnought was real. It had flown. He couldn't understand how it was possible, and the mere idea that humans had done something so extraordinary was enough to make him uncomfortable. "It doesn't make sense," Karoth muttered. "They're too weak, too small. How could they create something of this magnitude?" The Aethar leader, Viri, gave a knowing look. "Perhaps it's not about their size. It's about their determination. Humans have always fought against odds that seemed impossible, and they always find a way." Across the room, another voice interrupted. It was Cormac, the aging representative of the Rylothian species, known for their wisdom. He adjusted his glasses and peered over the top of them, his wrinkled face filled with concern. "The human Dreadnought is not just a ship, it's a statement. If it is as powerful as reports claim, then we may be dealing with something we didn't foresee." Cormac's words were met with murmurs of agreement. The Dreadnought wasn't just a technological feat. It was a symbol of human ambition, strength, and perhaps even their desire to challenge the galactic order. The Rylothian leader wasn't just worried about the ship. He was worried about the message it sent to the entire galaxy. "We cannot ignore this," Viri said, his tone growing more serious. "If humans have created something like this, what else could they be capable of? We know they've been pushing the boundaries of their technology for decades, but this—" He paused, struggling to find the right words. "This changes everything. It's a shift in the balance of power." Karoth scoffed. "One ship doesn't change the galaxy." "But it does," Cormac countered sharply. "One ship can be the spark that ignites an entire revolution. If they continue like this, they could quickly surpass our technology. We must act before they do." The room fell into a tense silence as the weight of Cormac's words settled in. What if the human Dreadnought wasn't just an isolated incident? What if it was the beginning of something far bigger? What if humans were on the verge of becoming a major power in the galaxy? "We need to send a message," Karoth insisted. "We cannot let humanity think they can challenge us." But Viri raised his hand. "We should be careful. If they are capable of building such a ship, they may also be capable of much more. We must observe them, understand their true strength before we make any rash moves." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. The uncertainty in the air was palpable. They had all seen species rise and fall over the centuries, but the humans were something different. They were unpredictable, relentless, and now they had shown that they could defy the expectations of the entire galaxy. "I agree with Viri," Cormac said, his voice slow but firm. "We must monitor them. But we must also consider this. If the humans have awakened this dreadnought, they might not be content to remain in the shadows for long. We must prepare for the possibility that they are no longer just a curiosity. They might be a threat." As the discussion continued, the council members found themselves in deep debate. The once dismissed humans were now a serious concern. Some wanted to strike quickly, neutralize the threat before it grew larger. Others, like Viri and Cormac, argued that caution was needed. But one thing was clear: the human dreadnought had forced the entire galaxy to reconsider its view of humanity. Across the stars, human scientists and engineers were working tirelessly to push the boundaries of their knowledge, creating new technologies and ships that no one had thought possible. The dreadnought was only the beginning. And as the Galactic Council debated, the human ship continued its journey through the galaxy, its power undeniable. The aliens might have been skeptical, but the humans had just shown them one undeniable truth. When humans set their minds to something, they could accomplish the impossible. The challenge. The galaxy had been shaken. The human dreadnought, once thought to be a pipe dream, was now soaring through the stars, and the shockwaves of its successful flight had reached every corner of the known universe. Yet, among the alien races that had once mocked humanity, a growing sense of unease spread like wildfire. It wasn't just the dreadnought itself that was causing alarm. It was what it represented. As Sarah Carter stood on the command deck of the dreadnought, looking out at the endless stars before her, she couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. The ship was now in full operation, and it was clear that humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage. But she also knew that this victory would not go unchallenged. "Commander," Jack Ryan's voice interrupted her thoughts. He was standing beside her, looking over the data streaming across the monitors. "We've just received a communication from the Galactic Council." Sarah turned toward him, her brow furrowing. "What's it about?" He hesitated, glancing at the screen. "It's not good. They're concerned about our ship, about what it means for the balance of power." "Of course they are," Sarah muttered under her breath. She had anticipated this. The dreadnought was humanity's statement that they were no longer a weak and insignificant species. It had challenged the established order. Now, the galaxy's most powerful races were afraid that humanity was on the verge of becoming a threat. "Any specifics?" Sarah asked, her voice steady despite the rising tension. Jack nodded. "They've requested a meeting. They're calling it a diplomatic summit to discuss the implications of the dreadnought. It's clear they want us to back down." Sarah crossed her arms, her mind racing. She knew this moment was coming. It had been inevitable. She had heard the whispers, the fear in the voices of the alien leaders. Humanity was no longer a curiosity. They were a force to be reckoned with. "Their tone is clear," Jack continued. "They want to know if we're planning to escalate this, to build more ships, more weapons. They're warning us to be careful." Sarah's mind raced through the possibilities. The Galactic Council didn't understand humanity. They had never faced a species like them before. The Council had seen countless species rise and fall, but none had the sheer will and determination that humans did. They weren't motivated by conquest or domination. They were driven by a desire to prove themselves, to push beyond the limits others set for them. "We'll meet with them," Sarah said finally, her voice calm but firm. "But we're not backing down. This dreadnought is just the beginning. Humanity is ready to show the galaxy that we're not just survivors, we're innovators. And we'll continue to push forward, no matter what the Council says." The news of the upcoming summit spread quickly, and the atmosphere aboard the dreadnought grew tense. The crew had accomplished the impossible, but now that they were about to face their greatest challenge yet, negotiating with the very beings who had once considered humans inferior. The tension was palpable as Sarah and her team prepared for the meeting with the Galactic Council. It was one thing to build the Dreadnought. It was another to navigate the political storm that was sure to follow. The meeting itself took place in a grand chamber on a neutral planet, where representatives from various alien races gathered to discuss the implications of humanity's newfound power. Sarah and her team stood at the center of the room, facing a sea of alien leaders and generals, all of them watching with skeptical eyes. The council members looked down on her from their elevated seats, their expressions unreadable. Among them sat General Karoth of the Erethian Empire, his dark eyes fixed on Sarah with a mix of disdain and curiosity. He had been the most vocal opponent of humanity's rise, dismissing them as an insignificant species. "You humans," he began, his voice dripping with sarcasm, "have surprised us all. But tell me, what exactly are your intentions with this Dreadnought?" Sarah stood tall, her voice unwavering. "Our intention is simple. We're here to show you that humanity has the potential to be more than just a footnote in the history of the galaxy. We're here to build, to create, and to contribute. The Dreadnought is a symbol of what we can achieve when we come together as a species." Karoth sneered. "You think you can challenge us with your ship? Do you not understand that we have been in control for millennia?" "I understand," Sarah replied, her gaze steady. "But humanity doesn't follow the rules others set. We make our own path. And the Dreadnought is just the beginning. We will continue to grow, to innovate, and to push the boundaries of what's possible." The room fell silent as the weight of her words hung in the air. The alien leaders exchanged uncertain glances. For the first time in centuries, they were no longer certain of their dominance. Humanity, the species they had once overlooked, had just made its mark. "You may think your ship is a powerful statement," Viri, the Aether leader, said, his tone cool and calculating. "But you must understand this. The galaxy has its rules. You cannot simply waltz in and change everything. There will be consequences." Sarah nodded, knowing this was only the beginning. The summit wasn't about making allies. It was about standing her ground. Humanity had already proven they could achieve the impossible. Now they had to prove they were ready to face the consequences of their success. "The consequences are irrelevant," she said firmly. "Humanity is ready for whatever comes next." And as the council members fell silent, one thing was clear. The Dreadnought had ignited a spark that could never be extinguished. The question now was whether humanity would burn brightly in the face of the galaxy's greatest challenges, or be snuffed out before they could truly take flight. The rising tension. The summit had ended, but its consequences were only beginning to unfold. Sarah Carter and her team returned to the Dreadnought, their minds filled with the weight of the Council's warnings and threats. The Galactic Council had made it clear that humanity's success with the Dreadnought had caught them off guard, and they were not happy about it. Some members, like General Karoth, had openly questioned humanity's motives, while others, like Viri, had remained cautious but firm in their stance. As the Dreadnought cruised through the stars, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the Council's words were only the beginning. She knew they would be watching humanity closely, waiting for any misstep, any sign that humans intended to challenge the established order. But what the Council didn't understand was that humanity didn't follow the same rules. They didn't fear the unknown. They embraced it. And in embracing the unknown, they had already set themselves on a path that could change the course of history. Back on Earth, the leaders of the planet gathered in secret meetings. The Dreadnought had been a success, but Sarah knew it wasn't just about one ship. It was about the future. The ship had opened a door to a galaxy that had long considered humanity insignificant. Now that the door was open, humanity would push forward, no matter the cost. "We can't go back," Sarah said to her fellow commanders, her voice firm. "The Council will never accept us as equals unless we show them we're capable of more. The Dreadnought is just the start." One of her officers, Commander Ryan, nodded. "We've shown them that we can build something powerful, but we need more. We need to continue developing technology that will not only protect us, but place us on the same level as the most powerful species in the galaxy." Sarah's eyes hardened as she gazed out at the stars. Humanity doesn't need to be on the same level as them. We need to surpass them. Back in the council chamber, the alien leaders were still reeling from humanity's boldness. General Karoth paced back and forth, his fists clenched. How dare they speak to us like that? They think they can just waltz into our galaxy and start making demands. They're nothing but insects. But their technology. Viri, the Aether leader, remained calm, but his mind was working overtime. We cannot underestimate them. They've shown us that they have the potential to be more than we thought. We must find a way to neutralize this threat before it grows. Karoth growled. I say we strike first. We send a clear message that no species, not even humanity, can challenge us. Viri shook his head. No. If we strike now, we may provoke them into something much worse. We need to understand their capabilities fully before we make any decisions. What if they're already too strong? Cormac, the wise Rylothian leader, asked, his voice laced with concern. What if this ship is only the beginning? A murmur of agreement spread through the room. The Dreadnought was a formidable weapon, and if humanity had more where that came from, it could mean a shift in the balance of power. No one in the council had ever seen anything like it before. They had never imagined that such a small, seemingly insignificant species could possess the ingenuity to create something so deadly. We need to make a choice, Viri said, his voice cold and calculated. Do we risk everything by attacking now, or do we wait, observe, and learn more? If we choose to act too soon, we may push them into an irreversible confrontation. But if we wait, we may find that humanity is far more dangerous than we've prepared for. The council members fell into a heavy silence, each one weighing the decision. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and no one was sure which side the scales would tip toward. On board the Dreadnought, Sarah could feel the tension rising. The crew had trained for this, prepared for any situation. But now, more than ever, she understood the gravity of their situation. They were no longer just exploring the unknown. They were part of a larger game, a game where the stakes were the highest they had ever been. We have to stay ahead, Sarah said, her voice low but resolute. We can't afford to let the council take control. We need to show them that we won't back down. Back on Earth, scientists and engineers were already working at full capacity. The Dreadnought's success had been a catalyst, sparking an even greater drive within humanity. Every day, new advancements in weaponry, propulsion, and defense systems were being developed. Humanity's innovation was unstoppable, but the stakes were growing higher. The Galactic Council had already shown their skepticism, and now, their fear. Sarah knew they wouldn't let this go. They would either come for humanity or try to bury them in political maneuvering. But one thing was certain, humans would not be the ones to back down. Sarah stood at the command deck once more, looking out at the stars. The galaxy was full of wonders and dangers, and humanity was about to step into the heart of it. The Dreadnought had opened a door. Now it was up to them to walk through it. The aliens had underestimated humanity, and soon they would realize the truth. When humans were backed into a corner, they didn't fold. They fought, and they fought hard. The unexpected move. The situation had reached a boiling point. On one side, humanity stood with its powerful Dreadnought, a symbol of their unexpected rise in galactic affairs. On the other, the Galactic Council deliberated in fear, trying to decide how to handle the rapidly growing power of the humans. But neither side knew what the other was truly capable of. And that was exactly how Sarah Carter intended to keep it. As the Dreadnought continued its journey, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the Council was watching their every move, waiting for the slightest mistake. She knew that a direct confrontation was inevitable. The question wasn't if it would happen, it was when. And when it did, humanity had to be ready. We're not just going to sit back and wait for them to make a move, Sarah said to her crew as they gathered for their daily briefing. The Council will never respect us unless we show them that we're a force to be reckoned with. We need to be proactive. Commander Ryan looked at her with a mix of concern and determination. You're suggesting we strike first? Sarah nodded. Not strike. Not yet. But we need to make a statement. We need to show the galaxy that we're not just sitting idly by, waiting for their approval. We're in control of our own destiny. Ryan hesitated for a moment. But what if they retaliate? We can't be sure how far they'll go. I know the risks, Sarah replied, her voice steady. But we've already taken the first step by building the Dreadnought. The next step is to make sure they know we're not afraid to act. A silence fell over the room as her crew processed her words. Sarah understood the weight of the decision. This wasn't just about a ship or a weapon. It was about sending a message to the rest of the galaxy. Humanity would no longer be ignored. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the message had been received loud and clear. The development of the Dreadnought had sparked an arms race of sorts. Humanity's success had ignited a fire of innovation. Engineers, scientists, and strategists were working tirelessly to build the next generation of ships and technology, all while the threat of the Council's retaliation loomed over them. Every day brought new breakthroughs, but it also brought new dangers. Humanity had to move fast, before the Council could strike back. On the galactic stage, the Council was growing more divided. Some members called for immediate action against humanity, fearing that their continued rise could pose a threat to the delicate balance of power. Others urged caution, knowing that pushing humanity into a corner could provoke a war no one was prepared for. Keroth, the Eurethian general, was one of the most vocal opponents of humanity. He had watched from the sidelines as the Dreadnought's launch shook the foundations of the galaxy. He had always believed that humans were a primitive species, incapable of truly challenging the great powers of the galaxy. But now he saw them as a ticking time bomb. He was determined to strike first, to teach humanity a lesson they would never forget. We can't afford to wait any longer, Keroth argued to the Council. They've shown us that they're capable of things we never imagined. If we don't act now, we risk them becoming an unstoppable force. Viri, the Aether leader, looked at him coolly. Patience, Keroth. If we strike, we may provoke a war that none of us are ready for. Humanity has proven itself resourceful, but we don't know the full extent of their capabilities. You underestimate them, Keroth snapped. The Dreadnought is just the beginning. If we allow them to continue down this path, they'll become a threat to us all. Viri met his gaze, his expression unreadable. We will not act rashly. We must learn more about them before we make any decisions. If humanity proves to be a danger, we will deal with it in time. Keroth clenched his fists in frustration. And how much time will you waste while humanity grows stronger by the day? As the Council bickered, the tension in the galaxy continued to rise. Neither side was willing to back down. Humanity had made its statement, and now the galaxy was on edge, waiting for the next move. Back aboard the Dreadnought, Sarah had made her decision. She had called for a secret meeting with her closest advisors. The time for waiting was over. They had the power, the resources, and the resolve to face whatever challenges the Council threw at them. But it was time to take a more aggressive stance. We have to be proactive, Sarah said, her voice low and intense. The Council won't come to us willingly. We need to make the first move, not in aggression, but in strategy. We'll go to them, right into their backyard. We'll show them that we're not afraid. Her advisors exchanged glances, uncertain but intrigued. How do you propose we do that? Commander Ryan asked. Sarah leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with determination. We're going to infiltrate one of their most secure planets. We won't engage in direct combat, but we'll make it clear that we can reach them anywhere, at any time. We'll show them that humanity isn't just capable of defense. We can take the fight to them. Ryan raised an eyebrow. You want to invade one of their homeworlds? Not invade, Sarah clarified. We'll be discreet. We'll make our presence known, just enough to shake their confidence. We're going to show them that we're not a species they can easily control or intimidate. It was a bold plan, one that would test the limits of humanity's capabilities. But it was also their only option if they wanted to ensure their place in the galaxy. The Dreadnought had opened the door, but now, humanity had to walk through it, ready to face whatever came next. As the Dreadnought set course for the heart of enemy territory, Sarah's mind raced with the knowledge that this decision could change everything. There was no going back now. Humanity had chosen its path, and it would either lead them to dominance or destruction. The next move was theirs to make. The countdown to confrontation. The Dreadnought moved silently through the void of space, its sleek, intimidating form cutting through the dark with purpose. Every officer aboard, from Sarah Carter to the lowest-ranking crew member, knew what was at stake. This mission was no longer just about proving humanity's place in the galaxy. It was about survival. The Galactic Council had made their position clear. They saw humanity as a threat to the status quo, and if they didn't act fast, they would find themselves caught in the Council's crosshairs. "We're entering enemy space," Sarah's voice echoed over the intercom, breaking the tense silence that had settled over the crew. "This is it. We make no mistake. Stay sharp, everyone." The crew braced themselves for what was coming. The next few hours would decide everything. The planet they were heading toward was one of the Council's most important and most heavily guarded. Their capital world, the beating heart of the galactic elite. It was the perfect place to make their statement. Commander Ryan stood beside Sarah as they reviewed the final approach plan. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice quiet but urgent. "This is a risky move, Sarah. If they detect us, we might not make it out." Sarah met his gaze, her expression determined. "We're not going in to fight. We're going in to make a point. We need them to understand that we are not some fringe species they can ignore. If we can make it past their defenses, show them that we can strike whenever and wherever we want, it will send a message they can't ignore." Ryan nodded slowly, but the doubt in his eyes was clear. "And if they respond with force?" Sarah's lips pressed together in a tight line. "Then we'll be ready." As they drew closer to the planet's atmosphere, Sarah couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. The Dreadnought was a marvel of human engineering, a symbol of their ingenuity and determination. But it wasn't invincible. The Council had weapons that could bring it down. Yet there was something the Council hadn't counted on: humanity's ability to adapt and outthink its enemies. "We're in position," the navigation officer reported. "Shields are at full strength, and we've got a clean shot to the planet's surface." "Good," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "Now, let's show them we mean business." The plan was simple yet audacious. The Dreadnought would make a low-level flyway over one of the most heavily fortified cities on the Council's homeworld. It wasn't about destruction. It was about making their presence known. They wouldn't engage in battle. Instead, they would use a combination of sensor jammers and high-powered electromagnetic pulses to temporarily disable the planet's communication and defense systems. The Dreadnought would fly in, make a sharp, high-speed pass, and then vanish into the stars before anyone could respond. It was a show of force, one that would leave the Council wondering what else humanity was capable of. And more importantly, it would remind them that humanity was not just another species to be dismissed. Back in the Galactic Council's war room, the Council members were still deep in deliberation. General Karoth had been pushing for a direct attack on Earth, but Viri, ever the strategist, had advised caution. They had all seen the footage of the Dreadnought's capabilities, but what they hadn't seen was its true potential. If humanity was capable of building such a ship, they wondered what other surprises the humans had in store. "Are we really ready to go to war with them?" Viri asked, his voice tinged with a rare hint of doubt. Karoth slammed his fist against the table. "They've already shown us what they can do. If we don't act now, they'll only get stronger, and we'll lose any chance of controlling them." "We need to be sure," Viri said firmly. "We don't know everything about their capabilities. It would be reckless to act without understanding the full scope of the threat." But before anyone could respond, the room's lights flickered. An alarm began blaring, and the holographic displays went static. Across the galaxy, military installations and key planetary defense systems began to glitch, their sensors malfunctioning. In one instant, communications with the Council's homeworld were severed. The entire Council sat in stunned silence. The Dreadnought had struck. The message was clear. Humanity was not to be underestimated. Back aboard the Dreadnought, Sarah watched as the systems returned to normal. The crew had executed the plan flawlessly. They had hit hard, fast, and disappeared without a trace, leaving the Council scrambling to piece together what had just happened. For a brief moment, the Dreadnought had done its job, not as a weapon of destruction, but as a weapon of intimidation. "Mission accomplished," Sarah said, allowing herself a brief, satisfied smile. Commander Ryan exhaled a long breath. "That was bold. I don't think they'll be taking us lightly after this." "We've made our mark," Sarah replied. "But this is just the beginning. The Council will come for us soon enough. They'll either try to stop us, or they'll try to learn from us. But either way, humanity is no longer a species they can ignore." As the Dreadnought made its way back to deep space, Sarah stared out at the stars, her mind racing with the knowledge that the path ahead was uncertain. The Council would retaliate eventually, but humanity had made its stand. They had shown that they weren't just players in the galaxy, they were contenders. And no one would forget that lesson. The galactic response. The Dreadnought sailed silently through the cold expanse of space, its engines humming with purpose. But even in the quiet of deep space, the tension aboard the ship was palpable. The mission had been a success, but Sarah knew the true challenge had only just begun. The Galactic Council would not sit idly by. A species that dared to challenge their dominance, especially one as resourceful as humanity, would demand a response. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," reported the communications officer, breaking the silence in the command center. Sarah turned toward the screen. The transmission was a direct link from the Galactic Council. There was no doubt about it. She exchanged a brief look with Commander Ryan before walking toward the screen. "Put it on," she ordered, her voice steady. The holographic projection flickered to life, and there, standing before them, was General Karoth, his expression one of seething anger and barely contained fury. "Humans." Karoth's voice boomed through the speakers. "You dare challenge the Galactic Council. You think you can make a mockery of us with your pathetic display. We were content to leave you in your corner of the galaxy, but this insolence will not go unpunished." Sarah stood her ground, her face unwavering. "General Karoth, you've underestimated humanity for too long. We are not your toys, nor are we your subordinates. We are a force to be reckoned with, and we will not be controlled." The room was tense. The crew could feel the weight of the moment. This was the moment the galaxy would be watching. The moment the fate of humanity would be decided. "You may have caught us off guard this time, but we will not make the same mistake again," Karoth snarled. "Prepare yourselves, for we are coming for you. You will bow before the might of the Galactic Council." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving a cold silence in its wake. Sarah turned to face her crew, her expression calm but resolute. "We've proven ourselves. But this isn't over. The Council will send their forces, and when they do, we'll be ready." "Do you really think they'll try to invade Earth?" Commander Ryan asked, his tone filled with concern. "I don't think they'll invade Earth," Sarah replied, her voice laced with determination. "They're smarter than that. But they'll come after us, after our strength. The Dreadnought was a warning, but they'll want to test us further. We can't let them see us as weak." As she spoke, Sarah felt a surge of confidence. The humans had just made their first major strike against the Council, and they had done it without firing a single shot. The Council had underestimated them, thinking they were just another species to be dominated. But humanity had shown them a different side, one of cunning, resilience, and strength. "We need to prepare," Sarah continued. "The Council will send their best. We'll have to fight smarter, harder, but we'll be ready." A series of beeps interrupted her thoughts, and the screen flickered to life once again. This time, however, it wasn't General Karov. It was a new figure, someone far less hostile, yet just as important. "This is Viri, strategist of the Galactic Council," the figure said, his voice calm and collected. "I've been tasked with delivering a message on behalf of the Council." Sarah raised an eyebrow. Viri was known throughout the galaxy for his calculating mind and his pragmatic approach to intergalactic politics. Unlike the impulsive Karov, Viri had the reputation of being more reasonable, though no less dangerous. "We recognize your strength, humanity," Viri continued, his voice still level. "But this is not the way. The Council's actions have been hasty. We do not want war, but we will not tolerate defiance. I propose a meeting, a chance to negotiate, to prevent further escalation. You do not want to make enemies of every species in the galaxy." Sarah looked around at her crew. The decision was not an easy one. The Council had shown their might, but now they were offering a chance for peace. It was tempting and in some ways logical. But Sarah knew one thing for sure: humanity could never go back to being complacent. They couldn't return to the shadows and let the Council dictate their future. "We will not be their servants," Sarah said firmly. "We've made our statement. Now we'll show them who we are. Humanity is stronger than they think, and if they want to come for us, we'll fight." The screen went blank, and the crew began to prepare for what was to come. Humanity had made its stand, and it wasn't about to back down. The Council had underestimated them once, but they wouldn't make that mistake again. As the Dreadnought flew through the cold expanse of space, the crew knew the road ahead would be long and perilous. The Council was coming for them, but humanity had learned one important lesson: never back down, never surrender. And so, with unwavering resolve, the humans aboard the Dreadnought prepared for the fight of their lives. They had awakened a new chapter in galactic history, and they would not be silenced.